Welcome to our program. I'm Leah Chow. Let's give you an update on what's happening lately. Despite the uncertainties of the presidential race, Republicans have expanded their control of state legislatures in the 2020 election. Their lead over Democrats is now more than 700 seats nationally, which is a 67% increase from 400. The largest Republican boost happened in New Hampshire. A gain of 61 seats flipped the control of both chambers. A major gain of 21 seats in West Virginia also ensured GOP control in both chambers. Because the state decides much of the policies on education, law enforcement, and health, this Republican expansion can directly impact people's everyday life. In this pandemic, the different approach to lockdown measures has highlighted the importance of state government. Furthermore, congressional district maps are largely decided by state legislatures. Trump has recently suggested that the state-level success indicates that something was wrong with the results of the presidential race. He tweeted on November 29th this, "So I led this great charge and I'm the only one that lost?" He said that there was massive fraud and the election was rigged. During the Michigan State Senate hearing on December 1, a witness presented a binder full of affidavits signed by poll observers who saw problems at the TCF Center in Detroit on the election day. She described military ballots that looked like the same Xerox copies and were all for Biden and that not a single one was for Trump. She also said that when she and other GOP observers tried to challenge the election workers, election officials in the state told them no. And when military ballots came in, she and others were told by the election officials to, quote, take a break.
Not one of the military ballots was a registered voter. And the ballots looked like they were all exactly the same Xerox copies of the ballot. They were all for Biden across the board. There wasn't a single Trump vote, and none of the voters were registered. They had to manually enter the names and addresses and a birth date of 1/1/2020, which would override the system and allow them to enter non-registered voters, of which I saw several that day. Throughout the day, that's how they would override.
Now, Michigan's Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, has claimed that there was no evidence of voter fraud that would overturn the state's election results. Attorney Jesse Binnall said on December 2nd that the Trump campaign is preparing to file a lawsuit soon to allege that more than 40,000 people voted twice in Nevada.
We are going to present evidence of real voter fraud. Thousands and thousands of instances in voter fraud in Nevada alone by 5 o'clock today that will be submitted to the court. 40,000 plus people who have voted twice in the election.
He also said that some people who said that they were recorded as having voted by mail never received the ballots and that they didn't vote. He did not provide a source for the claims, but said evidence will be presented to the court. He did not disclose which part of the state the bulk of the alleged fraudulent ballots were cast. In the previous week, Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak signed a certificate of ascertainment to pave the way for the state to send the certificate to the federal government. Biden currently has a close to 34,000 lead in votes than Trump in Nevada. If Binnall's statements are true, the lawsuit can potentially erase the lead. James O'Keefe and his non-for-profit Project Veritas has been secretly recording conference calls between CNN President Jeff Zucker and his senior leadership for months. O'Keefe started releasing the tapes on December 1. And in the first audio release, CNN leadership was heard discussing how the media should not give Trump a platform, but rather use 911 as an anecdote to caution a delayed transition of power.
On the issue of why it's important to get the transition going right, the 9/11 report talks about one of the problems was that the trouble that was brewing got lost during the transition. So if you want a good concrete example of what happens when you don't have a good transition, go look at the Twin Towers.
Project Veritas said that this is yet another investigation into CNN, and once again, CNN has demonstrated their partisan political agenda and total disconnect with journalistic ethics. In response, CNN tweeted that legal experts are calling this felony, and then they have turned this to law enforcement. Thank you for watching our program. Please click like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.